Hey everyone, Monty from Barbarossa Games, uh, Game Studio, starting already. Anyways, we're gonna start with some Four Against Darkness, and I had quite a while tried to figure out, well, how am I gonna show this? How's the best way to capture this? And it would kind of be either an iPhone, um, and I don't know. I'm going to still have to try that with some other tabletop games. But I found this uh, companion, and this runs on your computer. You can actually download it. It doesn't really do anything different. It can save your progress. It does save it to your downloads file, and then you can, bring it back up. It will automatically bring it back up when you reload it if you're on the same computer, but you could pull it over. And this is kind of cool. Like it has the, well, maybe if you're unfamiliar with Four Against Darkness, this is a solo game, period. It is meant to be played solo. It is meant, it has a bunch of add-ons to it. You play 4 characters, hence the name. And right here on the little app, I've already entered my 4 characters. I'm going to be using the latest book, which I got called, it's a Four Against Darkness Extended Edition. So it puts a lot of the things that have been added over time back into one book. It's a little bit better organized, and then has a couple adventures in the back. So we're going to play the first adventure to start with, called The Witch's Cave. I played a little bit of this game, and honestly, I was probably screwing it up when I played it, and I will probably screw it up now, because there are a lot of little things you can forget, like little bonuses that only happen every once in a while. If your character carries a bow, they get to attack first. If nobody's carrying a bow and then you pick up a bow, you might, forget that. There's there's a sort of an initiative roll at the beginning of some of them. But what this, the basics of the game you're going into a dungeon, and you get this, you pick this beginning, which we have marked here in black, and then you roll on, it's all D6s. So you roll 2 D6, and 1 is the first number and 1 is the second number. And it can automatically, now that's 55. So you go into the book, and there's a table in here that shows what the map for 55 should look like. And you can place it however you want to. We won't use this, but just to give you an idea. And then it goes like this: 2, 3, 4, 5. That's how it looks. And then you can go up here and grab your door, and this turns which direction your door is. Pick the door, and the map shows if there's a door there. And then that's the next section. And then each section that you're in, you roll to see if there is a content, what the content is. So this is giving you a 4. And now the content, there is a general one somewhere in all of this stuff, but most of the adventures, if you're playing an adventure, have their own. And then there's just a general one that you don't have to play an adventure. You can just go in to a dungeon and walk through it. I'll have to, like I said, I'm very new, so you're going to learn with me. And I think that's kind of cool. I personally, I don't want to see the best person ever, because they just gloss over things most of the time, and you don't really learn what you're doing. If you just want to follow along for following along's sake, that's fine. Like a couple of the live gameplay Glass Cannon, you didn't care. The roles, it really didn't matter. It was those guys putting that together, and the humor and the story that they put together. You didn't care about the mechanics of the game. They told you enough. It was just all about, the style and the storytelling. And this is more about how to play the game. See if it's something you would be interested in playing. Watch me fail. Watch me succeed. If you're watching some of my computer games, man, there's a couple there that I am dying left and right, and I don't know why. You shouldn't be dying 18 times by level 2, but maybe that's just how hard the game is. And then, again, there's the outcome roll, and so that's all on there. You can also use your own D6. You could use an off-thing roller. I like this just because this, for recording, should leave you guys all seeing what's happening. I'll put some notes in here so that I can remember if certain things go on, because you have to keep track of a lot of things. How your experience is learned is by multiple killings. If you clear so many monsters, then you get to what they call roll. So you don't just level up, you have to roll to see if you level up. And you get a chance, and if you fail the chance of leveling up, then you have to play through to get some more. Also, you get a level up chance once. So for each of your characters, you don't level up when you get enough of those. You get to use it once. This is a very long-term game. Some of the characters, my wizard is a whopping 3 points. So I need to reset this so that back to 3. I'm not sure why those were all at. Oh, probably because there's a place down here that says original health, but we'll just put back our health to actually having some health and not having the entire party dead. So it's not a lot of hit points. They don't really get a lot of hit points. A majority of your monsters are only going to be 1 hit point at a time, except for some of the bigger ones, and that's all random. So the entire thing is pretty much random. We'll work through this adventure just because it kind of consolidates some things, and I always like to tell a story with what I'm doing. So get the eraser back and get rid of these. And this is our start, and this particular one doesn't have doors. They're just open always. And there's differences between rooms and corridors, and we'll try to keep it all together for right now. But I think what we're going to do is just take a look at and if you hear me, that's because I've got to have the book in front of me. I don't know that there's any way to not do this. If I did have it, not even going to bother. If you did have it in PDF form, there are so many tables. It would be just as hard, other than you guys being able to see what I'm looking at. It would be just as hard to keep track of, because you're going to be bouncing back and forth across that PDF, which is often much harder than doing a book. I guess I've never tried to put bookmarks in a PDF. Maybe that's possible, but here I can have, bookmarks, so I can go back and forth much easier, and we'll go from there. So the mission, the witch Milthea, I think that's how you say it. Milthea has cursed Parkalon, the captain of the guards, who now writhes upon his deathbed. The blessings of a cleric are not enough to save him. Milthea hides in a cave 2 days' march from the city. If you kill or capture the witch before the curse is completes its course, you will save Parkathon and claim 100 gold pieces as a reward. So then it gives us some ideas on marching order, because this is actually meant to be your first adventure that we're playing through, so it's a little bit helpful. So marching order is what order yours are in. I have them already done. They can go 2 wide in a corridor and spread out in a room, but it's going to be, first my warrior, and then my rogue, and then the cleric and wizard in the back. Now, the only disadvantage is you can get attacked from the back, so it doesn't happen as often, but your lower level or lower hit point guys are right there in the back, and that could be bad. But if you put them in the front, that also means in the corridor they're always going to get attacked. Also, you need to have a lantern if you want to see. So one of your characters has to carry a lantern. I have my lantern being carried by my cleric. So there's a way. If the lantern goes out or your cleric goes down, you start suffering penalties because you can't see. There's no light. Then the generation that I showed you there, and it has tables in here. They're just using the general overall table for rooms. And then the room contents, like I said, you can roll up here, and I'll try to remember to do this so you guys can see the roll. And then it gives you a table, the number between 2 and 12 of what's in the room. And once you figure out what's in the room, then there's separate tables that keep moving forward. And this adventure has its own tables for what that is. There is never an encounter in the beginning. It lets you get in there at least once by yourself. And then you can pick wherever you go. And then this is the way they kind of keep it from getting ridiculously large, is you have a finite graph paper. Totally up to you, totally optional. This is what they do in the book. This is what they recommend. So if you get to the edge, you just cut it off and that's it. It doesn't go any farther. Also, the room shapes can be turned in any direction if you want to make them fit. So like that first one we got, let's take a shot that particular one went the other way, and now you really can't get there from these. So you would, without any problem or breaking the rules, you could then go this way with it just to make the dungeon make sense. There are books of cities, non-dungeon play, so hex crawls and all this kind of stuff, and we'll see where we get. My background story is Eric and Mist were part of a gang in a much larger city, and they had been there for a while, pulling off small robberies, basic little things like a gang, probably a little bit more like a thieves guild or something like that. But about 2-3 weeks ago, they went out on a mission and everybody but them got wiped out. And they looked at each other and said, I don't know if I want to do this. Not only, try to start over on their own, the whole stealing thing was a way to make money, but it wasn't. They were just following orders, and they kind of decided that they're done. Sorry. And when they get to a smaller little town, they meet the cleric and Valgrad, the wizard, who are both just looking to make some money. They have their own backgrounds themselves. Susan's just kind of done being the stay in a temple kind of cleric, and Valgrad's just starting. He thinks he's a wizard. We're not really sure yet. He knows a couple of spells. We'll see how it goes from there. They're very squishy, very, very, very squishy, and so that's the background. So they take this contract to try to get this witch, and we have traveled our 2 days. We have found the entrance to the cave, and when you walk in, this is what it looks like. With passages to the left and right, you can't really see what's going past that point, straight ahead, and it's just not, bright enough for you to see. And so the first thing to do here is, once we're in, because there's never an encounter in that first one, you just go in, and I guess the enemy doesn't sit that close ever. So what we're going to go ahead and do here is, again, we're going to roll for our next time. And actually, we got 41. Before I look it up, let's choose which direction we're going to go. So I think we're going to go right here, and we're going to add to this one right here. And 44 looks like, sorry for the, if anybody has any ideas, throw them in the comments on how to make it a little bit more without stopping and starting and stopping and starting the video, which I'm not sure if that's any better. So that looks like this: 2 up, and then going over 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 3 up, 2, and then goes into there. And there's a door, so we go up and grab our door tool, and it is going this way. And this particular one technically has it here also, but we're not going to worry about that one. So here we are, and this is a room. Remember, there is a difference between corridors and rooms. This is a room because it's more than one space in here. This is a corridor because it's only one space wide. I think the corridor is about 5 or 10 feet, not too out of anything else. You could actually play this with, if you wanted to, and you had a big enough table, and get out a 1-inch grid, and especially if you have one of those laminated babies, and do this all on a grid with miniatures, and play your what order that they're standing in, spread them out, as you'll see when we get going, and you can play this as detailed as you want to. I kind of wanted to do that, but I'm finding that it's going to get so big, I'm not sure how the camera works. So I think this works better, and especially in the beginning. Maybe we'll take a shot at that later on once we know the rules and we're not looking at the book day in and day out. So now what you do is go to that next part we walked into, and we need to find out what's into the room. So we go up and roll our contents, and we have a 4. And in the book, it says roll on the special events table. So if we go find our special events table, there it is. It is another D6 roll, so I'm just going to use that one. I think that's probably what it's for. And a 2 gives you this answer: a ghost drifts through the party. All the PCs must save versus level 4 magic. Clerics add their level or lose 1 life. Wow, that's real quick, huh? So now, save versus level 4 magic. This is where all those little things come into, and the book is big enough that there it is, saves. And when you're rolling the save, stealth saves. Yeah, sorry, I know this is kind of boring, but I really wasn't sure how else I could do this until I memorized the rules. So hopefully I'll just cut this out in editing. And a save versus level 4, you roll the target number or better. Nothing happens. Okay, so we need to roll a 6, or need to roll a 4 for each one of our guys. If they don't roll the 4, they lose a point, and our cleric gets to add 1 to the roll. So we'll start just the way it goes. We'll go over to Eric. He gets nothing to add to this, and we will roll, and he loses a point. So bang, bucks. And then our rogue, roll, and he's even worse. She's even worse. And down a point, the rogue goes. Oops, that was just one. I hope you can see this. Give me some comments if it's too hard to see. I much prefer the black. It's my eyes. As a diabetic, they're not the greatest. They're okay, but this is harder to see. And okay, over into Susan, our cleric, and we get to add 1. So she makes it through without any. And then Belgrade, please, yes, he makes it through without losing a point, because he's only got 3. So now, how important this could be, we can do this by writing up a new, the encounter is going to give you all of the information about a monster. Hopefully just stop the movie, add the information, and then come back. But we didn't have a monster here. It was just simple. So we could put it into this adventure log. And so the only bad part is it really uses these numbers as encounter numbers here, even though there's really not a place for this kind of a thing. So what we're going to do is we'll just go over here where we keep through room 1, Ghost, and Eric, and Mist, Lose. I can't. If you figure it out eventually, I can't. 1 hit. Alright, and that's the start of the game. That's pretty easy. I don't want to make these videos. It already feels like it's too long. If you want to keep watching, then you'll be able to, in the long run, just watch a whole bunch at a time as I get them out. But I want to keep them short so that you don't feel like you have to set aside 2 hours just to watch something. You can kind of get through it. So we're going to call it a movie. We're going to call it an episode right here as an introduction, and we get into the first room, and already it's not a great thing. And we'll go from there. Not terrible, but as you can see, there's not a lot of wiggle room for what can happen in here, and we'll go from there. All right, thanks for watching. Visit us at barbarossa.com or barbarossalibs.com, excuse me, and you can see some of our blog posts and the paintings and 3D items that we work on over there. And visit us, keep following on YouTube. We're also available on Facebook and TikTok. We'll see you around. Bye-bye.